Salutations. Apologies for being late. So sorry. Oh my gosh. How is everybody? And can you hear me? If you could just give me a thumbs up. Hello. Oh my gosh, I have missed you guys so much. I cannot tell you how much I have missed seeing you. Ooh, hello, the Relyk. The Relyk is back. That's good. Hello, Sally. Hello, Joshua, my love. Hello, Koskero Drift. Hello, Aaron. Hello, Paradox Junkie. Oh, all my faves are here. Hello, Gloria. Oh, so lovely to see everybody. Oh, hello, Maria. Alex Mills. Oh, it's so lovely to see everybody. Is Yusuf here? That's good. Oh my gosh, Rennie, hello. I'm nearly finished with your Sims family. Don't worry. We'll have that premiered once I get back into my Sims universe and everything like that. Oh my gosh, it is so lovely to see everybody. Absolutely fantastic to see you all. Oh, I'm so glad that you can hear me. Okay, that's good. Good. Oh my goodness. It has been quite an evening for me. Not like serious, like in a serious way. Just I thought I could do more things than I could actually do. So I decided last minute at about 6 o'clock, I thought, right, I can go to the gym because I hadn't been out all day. I'd been editing all day. So I thought, right, I need to let off some steam before the live stream. So I decided to go out and go to the gym, and I realized, right, I've got literally an hour to do this. So there I were, resting. I'm sorry. I've been watching. I've been watching. On Friday, I sort of binge watched Pirates of the Caribbean, like all of them, and so I've been quoting a lot of that. If you don't know, that's said by Blackbeard in I think it was the 4th installment of the film. He's like, there I were, resting, and it's just so funny how he says it. So yes. So there I were, cycling to the gym, and lo and behold, the heavens just opened up above me, pouring down rain. And I swear all the deities up there decided to all bend over at the same time, and just the cracks that I saw, cracks of thunder and lightning, mind you. It was quite petrifying and frightening, but I didn't feature in sort of the elements and the weather into my schedule. But we are here. I survived. I went out into the wild, faced the belly of the beast, and, I'm back here now, so it's fine. But yes, I feel refreshed. I feel rejuvenated. So yes, all is well. All is well. Oh, it's so lovely to see so many people and so many new faces, I think. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so lovely to see you. Oh, Usman, you can listen to that. I have it linked in the description box. You can access the stream. It's going to be one of those days where I can't speak. You can access the link for the Spotify playlist. So yes, thank you very much for that fantastic segue, because I have been listening to a lot of music since we last met, my dears. Nothing terribly extraordinary. I know that a lot of new music has come out, hasn't there? Like lots of Taylor Swift suddenly dropped an album a few days ago, which was glorious for all the Swiftians. I think what I like about the album, about what's it called? Is it called Midnight or Midnights? What I like about it, I like it when artists get to that point of notoriety where they kind of don't have to care about selling albums. They're at that point where they can just focus on the art and focus on the music and what they want to do. And I think Taylor Swift is at that point. Lana Del Rey sort of went to that point on her own. She just decided to. But I think it's quite difficult just in the music industry to actually be like, you know what, I'm doing this for me. And this is something very personal to me. And sort of making that commercially viable. So yeah, I think this was one of those albums for Taylor. So I like Karma, and is it Vigilante something? I forget. But yes, I do like those songs. But I have been getting back into my oldies, like Wham. I love my 80s pop. Dead or Alive is, oh, absolutely thrilling, thrilling. But yes, yes. And Fiona Apple, you can't go wrong with a bit of Fiona. It was actually Zahara that got me into Fiona Apple. I saw in the chat that she'd mentioned Fiona Apple and somebody else. They did a collaborative effort and I listened to it and I thought, oh, that's brilliant. So yes, I got into Fiona Apple via the route of a moderator. So that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yes, Wham Rap is a jam. It's brilliant. You can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with that song. That is just a perfect song. If I were to, like in my mind when I get married, because I don't intend on getting married in real life, but in my mind when I get married, you know how it is. That song is always, that's the one for the dance floor. It's integral stuff. Oh, and I'd just like to say thank you so much for all your kind words on my latest video that I made about men rejecting women and all of those all of that. And I really appreciated the comments. I read them and I've been reading them today and they really touched something deep within me. My G-spot, I'm joking. They really touched something deep within me. It was so just very meaningful and very impactful to read, and I very, very much appreciate it. So thank you so much. I wasn't expecting that kind of a response. It was just a sort of off-the-cuff video that I decided to just make, and so yes, I very, very much appreciate your very kind and very considerate and very loving words. So thank you very, very much indeed. I know, I cannot get enough of Ozzy Osbourne's new album. It is absolutely brilliant, beautiful. I can't fault it. I can't fault it at all. It's perfect. Every single song is perfect. Completely agree. Ozzy Osbourne is at the top of his game and I love it. I love how this album is him just reflecting about his mortality, about his mistakes, about death, just everything. Lyrics, beautiful. Riffs, beautiful. Just perfect. Yeah, yes. Ozzy is... And the Osbournes is coming back. The Osbournes, oh my gosh, of all the shows that I thought, I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that the Osbournes would be coming back. But lo and behold, it is. And I'm waiting with bated breath. I cannot wait. That is one chaotic family, if ever there was one. So it'll be interesting to see them in their dotage or dotage. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but anywho, it'll be very interesting to actually hear about that. So yes, Coscarrow Drift. I read that somewhere that Lana actually had a hard drive or a memory stick with all songs and a book that she actually had finished writing for Simon and Schuster, that regrettably it was stolen from her vehicle. So yes, I hope that gets retrieved for her, because that is very, very bad luck. And yeah, I can't imagine how that would feel. That's absolutely terrible. Something that you've really invested sort of your heart and soul into, just taken. But yes, I mean, out of the ashes emerges a phoenix. So let's hope. Oh my gosh. I'm quoting Harry Potter now. Oh my goodness. What is going on? Oh dear. Anyway. Okay. So I thought today we would... Oh, moderators are here. Hello, Cat2123 and hello, Zahara. Absolutely lovely to see you. Hello, Carla. Lovely to see you too. Okay. Yes. Today I thought we would talk about, has woke gone too far? Because I watched a video recently, Destiny, the renowned streamer, put out this video. He went to a university in Texas, I believe, and he did that sort of, that setup where I think it's just titled Change My Mind. and he wanted his mind to basically be changed about his opinion being that woke and woke culture has gone too far, and he just had it out with some students. So I didn't watch the whole thing. I believe he spoke to, I think it was 3 or 4 students, and I've watched the first one. So I thought we could watch it together. They're quite short. We don't have to watch all of them, but I thought it would be quite interesting to watch because, yes, I have some thoughts, and I know based on just reading the comments that you all have a lot of thoughts, a lot more than I do, and I find it very, very interesting to read everything that you have to say. So I thought that would be interesting if that is what everybody is happy with. And we have our dearly beloved Jordan Peterson with us once again. Absolutely fantastic to see you. I hope you're doing well. I was recently having a little bit of a debate with somebody about Jordan Peterson's marriage, of all things. It was quite interesting, but you know what, here we are. Some terrible news to share. I have recently developed hemorrhoids that have been causing me extreme discomfort. This has been affecting my mood, and I may be more ornery, pardon me, than usual. I am sorry about that. That is absolutely terrible. I don't know. I'm very slow at things that are trolls. But if you do have hemorrhoids, I am so sorry. Please don't do a Howie Mandel and show us all your hemorrhoids. That would be yeah, that would be a lot. I think that would be a lot. But yeah, yes. A few days ago, I went and I got my monthly full body wax, and the body waxer, she was telling me about how she waxes when somebody has hemorrhoids and how tricky a deal it can be. So I do sympathize with anybody, including you, Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, with your hemorrhoids, because it must cause you terrible discomfort. I am quite certain of that. So anyway, let's get onto the woke, because I have quite a lot of thoughts on this, and I think this is very up my street in terms of just thinking about my place as a minority, if we're going to get personal about it. I'm not going to make this too well. It's sort of I'll dabble a bit in some of the personal deets of my thoughts, but I thought it would be just interesting just to talk about it. So obviously we're going to do the typical 90s thing of a little PowerPoint, just to start off with. It's only one slide, then we're going to move on to Destiny. Don't worry. Don't worry, the Relyk. Don't worry. Okay, so just in case, just so that we can have sort of a bit of a consensual idea of what woke means, right? I think it first emerged in the 1960s, like early 1960s, after being used by the American writer William Melvin Kelly. I believe he wrote short stories and wrote literary criticism as well, and also a novel. I haven't read the novel. If anybody has, please tell me. I believe he wrote like a really, really significant American novel, like, you know, a great American novel, which I need to read, obviously. So yes, and he basically coined the term referring to white Americans appropriating African American vernacular English, and it sort of died out, fizzled out a bit then, and it sort of emerged again in the 2010s, mid 2010s, and now it is, well, quite renowned, and it's been officially entered into the Oxford English Dictionary as of 2017. And where's the definition that I put? Yes. So here's the definition that I put. So in literal terms, being woke refers to being, okay, we know that, okay. But in terms of its meaning given by the Oxford English Dictionary now, sorry, there's a lot of chaos in the city. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, it's an adjective which means alert to injustice in society, particularly racism. So, it's my thoughts on wokeism. I'll be honest, I don't. I would say that yes, woke has gone too far, but I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to keep going, and I don't necessarily see. I guess I don't necessarily see it as being a big deal exactly, because I don't think that it is actually going to make the changes insofar as righting injustice that it purports to be doing or striving towards. I really don't think so. And here's why. I think because when it comes to woke, the central individuals who are of concern are minorities. Minorities in modern, predominantly westernized societies, and ultimately representing them and righting the wrongs of either the past or particularly the present. So like Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ plus rights, trans rights, etc. So it's all well and good. But one thing that I have really accepted just as a minority in a Western society, in a modern society, is that sort of a precondition of being a minority is accepting that you are getting the raw deal, and that living in a democracy, that is ultimately what is, it's not, you're not going to live the life of the majority. That is what it is. And that's counterbalanced by human rights. That's counterbalanced by, for instance, in the UK, it's counterbalanced by the European Union. Yes, the UK has left the European Union, but we are still under the European Convention. And in terms of the rhetoric surrounding human rights law as brought down by the European Union, it still applies. And if something were to go wrong, I can still go to the European Union, I can still go to Strasbourg, and I can still plead my case against any British government. So all is well and good in that sense. And also there's laws in place in the UK which take forever for a government to so much as actually have any meaningful impact over, that are in place at this very point in time. So in terms of my individual rights, they're protected. And that's what is, I think, crucial. And as a minority, for me at least, that is what is crucial. I know that as a minority, I have very little protection, at least when it comes to the democratic process, when it comes to a lot of things. But that is counterbalanced and then provides me protection and provides me sort of peace of mind and security going into life and doing things, applying for jobs, applying for a new bank account or a credit card or whatever. I've got, as an individual, I have a place. And so I think minorities have never had it so good. And that isn't saying that it's good, mind you. I mean that in terms of being recognized as individuals with autonomy and agency, we haven't had it this good in human history. And I think the issue with a lot of woke culture is that it fails to appreciate that being a minority is ultimately being a minority, and that isn't going to change under the conditions which we find ourselves in. And I fear that also wokeism, or like woke culture, which tends to be quite anti-establishment, anti-capitalist, etc., it doesn't seem to have a goal, an end goal in terms of, okay, what do you want? Do you want a more socialist society? What have you? It seems all very wishy-washy and very postmodern in the sense of sort of really separate groups with separate causes and separate agendas, really. And I feel that when it comes to actually an ultimate overall goal and objective, there really isn't one. And I think that's inevitably just because they are minority causes, ultimately, and because anything that requires sort of an ultimate goal of ultimate change requires the majority. Any change throughout history that has ever happened has happened, like any fundamental revelatory change has happened because the majority have ultimately been in favor of it. Any revolution, Russian Revolution, the majority of people, well, Russia, I'm not going to get into the nuance, but majority were disenfranchised, but ultimately the majority were able to be coerced and, etc. You either are able to coerce the majority or the majority has absolutely no power, as in the case in Russia. But you need most of the people on your side. And I think the thing with woke culture, at least in modern societies, is that the majority is not on the side of the fragmented minorities who sort of make up this quilt of woke incentives and woke agendas. And that's why I don't think woke agendas are going to, in the long term, be effective. But I don't think that they are going to stop progressing further and further into wherever they are going. And I think this is just because in modern societies, there is just sort of this lack of, I guess, a lack of faith, which you could say is a lack of religion. And by religion, I don't necessarily just mean Christianity or that we're now atheistic, because I think atheism in itself it has the same tenets of there is a faith in it, there is a religiosity about it. By religion, I mean sort of a way of life, things that sort of moral compasses that you have, things that determine your actions. That, I would say that sort of going to the gym, there's individuals there whom their gym routine and their gym lifestyle is a religion to them. It determines what they eat, what they won't eat. It determines what time they go to bed. It determines when they're going to wake up. It determines what they want to do with the rest of their lives, at least to a point. And I think we've sort of at least lost this overarching religiosity that sort of unites a whole country, a whole society, and importantly, a religious faith or doctrine or truth or lifestyle that is beyond humanity, that is sort of otherworldly. We've lost that sort of that element of mysticism just as a culture in general, which is ironic because the majority of the world is religious. So it's we're in a bit of a quagmire here. Giggity. Sorry. Yeah, that's why I said here that we are sort of in the midst of a modern reformation, because I think in the same way that in the 16th century, the Reformation was sort of a culture war between Catholicism and Protestantism, or the emergence of Protestantism. We're sort of in this, I think, culture war where there is just this sort of open plain in which everybody seems to be claiming that they know the truth of something, or purports to sort of know the actual truth behind something, like everything to do with, I think, just with, not even with just wokeism, just with everything, even the right. Everything is quite conspiratorial, quite sort of critical theory, for instance, on the side of the woke. Everything is about sort of discovering the truth of something, like there's some hidden truth, and that's very in line with, I think, a lot of religious faith and beliefs, and sort of uncovering that and having ultimate faith in that. So I think that's what we sort of find ourselves in. So that is my thoughts, I think, just very crudely speaking, on sort of wokeism and woke culture today. I think that, yes, in a sense, it has, at least it appears to have gone too far. I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to just keep going, but I don't think it's going to be effective in the long term. And I don't see much in the modern world as sort of a threat to a lot of things, because I do think that even though I hate bureaucracy, I think modern societies have incredibly strong bureaucratic systems in place which are quite untouchable, at least at this point in time in history. And I feel that getting past that, even these ideas, whether you agree with them or not, sort of getting past a lot of the bureaucracy that is in place, it's going to take decades, if that. So I do think that at least is sort of a buffer. Not that I necessarily agree with the buffer or like it very much at all, but at least in terms of sort of the bureaucracy surrounding human rights law and surrounding the protection of individuals and individuality, I think that it is a plus, at least. So yeah, those are just my thoughts, really. But let me look at the chat. Right, I am going all the way down to the bottom now, and then I'll scroll a little bit up. I'm so sorry. I've babbling on as usual. Okay, so Kat says that woke has indeed gone too far. Okay. Oh yes, thank you so much, Cat and Cabbage. You got my reference. I do appreciate that. Yes, yes, lots of people got my reference. Thank you very much, much appreciated. Okay. Ooh. Frogmorton Hotchkiss, fascinating name indeed, says people live in anonymous millions and lack even the solidarity of the coal mining town, much less the hunter-gatherer tribe. Yes, I would say that we do definitely. I think what's happened is really interesting. We sort of lack that real sort of overarching broad sense of communitarianism and solidarity among sort of a people just with an identity and a common identity. And I don't think that's just because of globalization and immigration or what have you. I think that is largely to do with the fact that modernity and the modern marketplace has really infiltrated everything, like everything, identities especially, which we can see, I think, with woke. I mean, like woke business culture, woke fishing, that sort of thing. You can definitely see how it infiltrates everything and is able to infiltrate everything. And I think that is the real culprit, because you can see that even in societies that are pretty homogenous. You can see, at least homogenous in terms of populace and the population, you can see that there is ultimately a lot of alienation and isolation from individuals, from each other as a community. I mean, if we look at, for instance, Poland is probably the most homogenous, at least ethnically and culturally, society in Europe, at least at the moment, at least since the end of Second World War. And there's definitely culture wars. So yeah, I think it's a thing that is just very much about modern life. So basically, postmodernism is bad. I think postmodernism is just another competing idea and just another competing narrative. I think it's just very appealing now. It's very appealing in terms of providing a sense of explanation and identity for a lot of people, especially a lot of young people who have not had a lot of modern people, just in sort of, I would say, general Western societies who aren't a part of, say, a community, like a close-knit community, such as in the UK, our Hindu community is very, very close. Muslim community is very, very close. Jewish community is very, very close. So I would say that sort of the more so the general English populace, that postmodernism is a lot more appealing, because it sort of provides an outlet for sort of an identity in times of identity crises, like a sort of overarching identity crises, and tells you that ultimately there's no truth, there's no overarching truth, there is just the narratives and the truths which you foster within your identities. And I think it's appealing in that sense, but it's also quite contradictory. I think a lot of postmodernist thought is quite contradictory. I also think it's quite harmless, though. I don't think it's sort of as great a threat as Jordan Peterson would like to claim it is. And I think he gets very confused between postmodernism and Marxism, and that's just a whole other can of worms. That is just trying to dissect Marxism is like trying to dissect Hegel, trying to dissect inflating of postmodernism and Marxism is like trying to read Hegel in German when you don't speak German. So I think it's a fruitless task, but ultimately everybody's trying to find meaning in the world, and I think woke is just another aspect of it, and I think it sells very well. That's the thing, because inevitably young people are trying to defy their parents and elders. And also what is very characteristic now is that young people have very, very little financial and political power, like basically none, which is just this complete, I would say, mind fuck when you think about how educated young people are relative to older generations, how much more aware and self-aware we are about rights, about politics, about the world around us, and also how much, at least in theory, rights and access to political power and institutions we allegedly have, which actually in practice is very, very little, even for the young people who represent the majority in most Western societies. So I think that ultimately, when you have no political power, you're going to find other avenues in order to try and exercise that, or in order to try and realize that, especially if you are being told and are existing in a world which is really telling you that you have all these avenues and all this power and all this access to actually having a meaningful impact on your community and on your life, which really young people do not. So I think that postmodernism, these ideas, wokeism, is very appealing, because it really creates what I would say an illusion of having influence, of having power, of having access to actually having meaningful social change. And I think a lot of people who are sort of woke activists are typically individuals whom you would say are privileged. You know, they tend to be, I see a lot of criticism that they're sort of white privileged, middle to upper class individuals who can sort of do all these protests in defense of minorities and everything. And, you know, I would say, well, yeah, you know, on paper, yes, they may be privileged, but in reality, are they really privileged? Because they are a young and quite disenfranchised group of individuals as well. So I think with all of this, it's sort of, you know, there's a lot of things that are being said on paper, but then sort of in reality, it may not sort of correlate as comfortably, I think. So it's an interesting situation. But yeah, I think we'll go on to Jordan Peterson, because not Jordan Peterson, goodness. We'll go on to onto Destiny, but I just saw a super chat which I would like to read. Oh, I just want to read this. This is interesting. Patrick says, what is important is what meaning you give to the world. Marxism is, for example, a way to try to shape the world to bend to the rule of the majority, completely against postmodernism. Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. Yes, I would agree with that. Yes. Postmodernism is completely against these grand narratives. Marxism is one of those grand narratives, very broadly speaking. Yeah, and I think Marxism is more so an ideal that the majority can rule. And I think that has proved itself to not work and to ultimately just fall into a small intelligentsia ruling, allegedly on behalf of the majority, which is ultimately what happens or has happened in all alleged Marxist experiments throughout history and even presently. I mean, I was going to say our dear friend, but Xi Jinping, he's now, I think he's about to be the longest serving leader of the Communist Party in China, which is, I mean, well done to him. That's quite a feat, quite a solid hold on power, which you would not expect. But yeah, gosh, good for him, I guess. But we will see what happens. But anyway, I saw a super chat. Thank you so much, Carla, for your super chat. Very much appreciated. Woke is currently code for people who pretend to care about social issues, that is, hypocrites, which makes some people immediately dismiss any issue or discussion around social justice. Your thoughts? Okay, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I agree with the premise. But I do think that these people actually care about these social issues. And I think that they actually care about it in the same way that, you know, when you get visited by Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or missionaries who really care about what they are telling you and are trying to convince you about the world. But for a lot of people, it's just, please just leave me alone. I think that this is what a lot of woke individuals are ultimately, just from their lens and with their own agenda. They really do believe that, and they really do care about the social issues which they have basically formulated a whole identity around. Or have dedicated like themselves to as sort of like a cause, right? And I think that it is a form of religion, in the same way that I think a lot of a lot of sort of segments of right-wing politics has also turned into a sort of religion. It isn't so much about, as is the case with religion, the actual literal truth of the matter, or what is actually really happening, or what your actions are really doing. As long as you believe that you are doing something, as long as you believe that you care, as long as you believe that you're a good person, as long as you believe that you are on the right side of history, that's all that matters, because that is what's giving you meaning. And so that can come across as sort of pretending, as being pretentious, as being hypocritical, definitely. So I agree with you on that. But I do think that these individuals actually do care. But I think that sort of, there's a bit of a contradiction in that caring, in the same way that there's a bit of contradiction in a lot of caring that comes from sort of individuals who are trying to convert others to their religious beliefs or faith. That you know, it is quite condescending. It's, I know what's best for society, or I know what's best for you, or I'm going to deliver your soul, and And I think that this has the same sort of undertones. And I think it is just, as I said, sort of just a substitute for Judeo-Christianity in most Western societies. I think that that is ultimately what it is, especially for young people, who are now online and are gaining most of their socialization and most of their education, especially about themselves, via the internet, which is extraordinary, because typically you gain that, and you gain a sense of identity from your parents, from your teachers, and from your community. And when you sort of compare, at least in the UK, because in the UK we have a very, very strong Jewish minority community, very strong. And I find it very interesting, like whenever there's something happening just politically, socially in the UK, it's very interesting just looking at what the Jewish community is doing and how they're responding, and sort of comparing the Jewish community in the UK to just the broader British, English population, because I would say that the Jewish minority in this country is very much sort of antithetical to what is happening in terms of, I guess, a lack of identity or a precarious state of identity among the general population. In that, for instance, socialization very much sort of in general British society and British schools, for instance, is happening more so online, by the internet, more so by sort of identity politics than it is by sort of parents who are sort of working, by teachers who are underfunded, who are trying to deal with all the bureaucracy and all the paperwork, and are just trying to make sure that their students get good grades, or good enough grades, and then move on, and sort of just the chain sort of effect of very industrialized education and society, or post-industrial society. And there really isn't that sort of time or that community in place to sort of mold children and sort of provide them with a sense of identity and purpose, and a sense of sort of meaning, and also, I guess, religiosity, or like sort of a higher meaning beyond themselves. And you compare that to like the Jewish community in the UK, where there is very much a sense of, and I mean community, like very, very close-knit community, very supportive community, very much a community where the schools are sort of supported by the community, families are supported, very sort of close religious ties, very much a molding of children and giving them meaning and a sense of purpose. And it's very interesting to like see that sort of existing as sort of a microcosm within the wider sort of modern world, of the UK, or of England, I should say more accurately. And so it's interesting to see those comparisons, and just to see like the sort of difference there. And so I think that I would say that a lot of woke culture, just like a lot of its sort of reaction against it, is very much sort of a sort of substitute for sort of that lack of, I think, community, that lack of sort of a belief in something, that lack in sort of a higher purpose and meaning for a lot of young people. So I get it, and I'm not inclined to. They're annoying sometimes. I'm not going to lie, they are quite annoying, but I get it. Like, for instance, I get this recent, I said I was going to go on to Destiny, but now I'm moving all over the show. So, sorry, I need to, did you see this recent, let me go on to, I think it's this slide. Yes, there we go. This recent, sort of groundbreaking thing that sort of shook the world, of these young individuals representing Just Stop Oil in the UK, who threw cans of tomato soup onto a Van Gogh painting in the National Gallery in London. Nothing was damaged. They knew that they weren't going to damage it. They were trying to make sort of, I think, a statement. It was more symbolic than anything else. And they've sort of been doing this these activists for Just Stop Oil have been doing this for a few weeks now, just sort of either gluing themselves to paintings or doing this very symbolic viral activism, which I would say is very much in line with sort of a lot of woke sentiment or a lot of woke sentimentalities. And I've seen sort of the reaction online. It's sort of quite polarized, but it tends to be the majority finds this Just Stop Oil individuals incredibly disruptive, incredibly pretentious, hypocritical, a lot of people were commenting on these two young, I believe that they're 21 and 20 respectively, activists, saying that, you know, they're very privileged, white, middle class, young British individuals, you know, that it's just all very, just very annoying. And, you know, I can understand that. Yes. I mean, it's, if I were in the National Gallery trying to admire art, I'd find it annoying, right? But at the same time, I get it. I get why they're doing it. And I can't really blame them given the current lack of avenues for political expression and political representation for younger generations. There is really a sense of like hopelessness, especially at this point in time, just with everything going on with sort of the energy crisis, high inflation, our very precarious state of government at the moment. I think there is definitely nobody in the camps of these young people and of, you know, young school age to Gen Z, even millennial individuals. There really isn't anybody representing these groups because they don't really have any power, they don't have any money, they don't have any financial sort of investments in the country, they don't have connections. And when there is such a drive to criminalize any form of sort of protest, to criminalize or to undermine any forms of sort of alternative political expression, aside from that of going to the ballot box, which we haven't been able to do for God knows how many years at this point in the UK, because there's just so much infighting and so much internal politics within the current ruling Conservative Party. It's just an absolute shambles. What do you expect? What do you actually expect? So I get it. I do get it. Would I do it? No, because I'm firstly lazy, I'm very comfortable, and I'm also, irrespective of the fact that I am a minority, I would say that I'm living a very privileged life. I have heating, I have my own room, I can still eat well, you know, I'm fine, I'm doing fine. So it's not something that I would do. And also because I'm a minority, obviously I just look out for myself. So that's the real state of minorities, which is quite interesting looking at sort of all these like sort of woke activists and all these movements sort of like, you know, representing, you know, not just me, but sort of like me, what I represent as everything that I am. It's interesting to see because they're so far from what's actually really going down. It's it's interesting, but I think I do get it, especially I think I can see why a lot of sort of, at least on paper, privileged individuals such as, you know, white majority class individuals get very caught up in this, because on the one hand, in a democracy, you're meant to have all the power, right? As the majority, you're meant to be the ones who are, you know, the future of the country, but you have no power, you have no influence. So it's, there's a bit of a mismatch, and it's like, what on earth is going on? So I get why this is sort of a form of like establishing an identity, but also coming out looking like the good guy because you're sort of on the side of minorities and you're trying to right sort of social injustice, which is going to be good for minorities, especially as is promoted, but ultimately for everybody, because your cause and your beliefs and what you care about is being put forward and is in the spotlight. So yeah, I get it. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. What do you all think about this particular protest? I'd be interested to read. Let me just scroll down. You have said so many fantastic things, I am sure. Yes. I saw I saw I saw this. I found this quite funny. I mean, because you know what, I'm all for the arts. I love galleries. I could spend days in galleries. Absolutely love going to galleries. So I get this, and I was very, when I first saw this, I was internally outraged, right? But then I calmed down and I was like, okay, no damage was done. This was sort of like a statement thing. They knew that they weren't going to damage it. They were sure of that, and it was fine. So no harm done. Okay. But also it's just so funny because during Van Gogh's life, like, people treated him like trash. Nobody cared about Van Gogh, and only now, like after he's died, do people care about Van Gogh and his art and everything. It's like now there's probably there's probably hundreds of thousands of artists who nobody gives a hoot about at all. And next century, like, their works are going to be revered and like sort of protected, like behind like sword and shield at like some gallery, And it's just, the human condition, and just human beings are just so contradictory and just so bizarre. I mean, it keeps things entertaining, but honestly, it's a hoot. So I I think after I sort of calmed down and like realized no harm was actually done, and ultimately they achieved what they wanted to, which was attention and virality online, which they got. So hats off to them, I guess. But yeah, I don't. It was that was my first instinct, like sort of like not the Van Gogh. I think I may have been a bit more upset if it was a Pieter Bruegel. That would have touched deep. But yeah, I can see a lot of people think what the majority think, that yes, that is not. Yeah, I see that as well. I do. I get it. I do get it. But yeah, I think one point that they made was that ultimately, we spend more time protecting art, protecting sort of fine art. We care more about that than we do about protecting our own planet. And yeah, I don't think it's a very good comparison to make. Completely different realms of sort of purpose and meaning and individuals and history. I don't think it's a good comparison to make. But I get where they were coming from. But I do think that this was just for the views and getting eyes on them, which they achieved. So they did it. Do a Da Vinci instead. No, oh no, oh dear. No. We actually do have a Leonardo here, who comments on a lot of my videos, very affectionately and kindly. So, it's a tough one. Oh gosh, yeah, it's difficult. Yes, that's the thing. Yeah, it's. No, sorry. I'm entering a different conversation. Sorry, I meant to click Paradox Junkie. Just stop oil. If only it would be so easy. Yes. I think, I think a lot of politics ultimately has just this, a lot of modern politics sort of has this like illusion that you can just stop things, that you can just, we can just, so like turning a switch on and off. This idea, you can just change your opinion on this, or, you can just, like, I don't know, burst the housing bubble, you know, just sort of things like, I think there's a lot of seemingly at least presented as easy fixes to things that are so caught up in so much bureaucracy, like so much bureaucracy. The bureaucracy around oil is just, I can't even like fathom it. Like I can't even like understand it. Even just watching things like documentaries on Al Jazeera about oil in the Gulf, you know, I can't even, there's just so much, and so many treaties, so many laws and regulations around oil, so many interests, so many private interests conflicting with public interests. And this is all built up over history to this point, and sort of going through all of that and going to a point where you can just stop oil. It's a very appealing, very catchy slogan. But I think, like any religion, every religion purports that their way is not only the right way, but also the better and easier way. And that there's a quick fix to things. You know, give your life over to X, Y, or Z, do this, do that, bada bim, bada boom, all done, fixed, you're all set for eternal life. And there just isn't, not for anything. And so I think that's just something that all individuals have to grapple with and figure out on their own, and I think that comes with time. We will see. They make very good points nonetheless, this just stop oil, but I think again, you need the majority on your side for any real change. And the majority in all societies, including modern societies, care about the cost of living. They care about putting food on the table, and they care about getting from A to B, which means from getting from home to work in order to make more money. And typically that involves a vehicle. The cheaper vehicles are the ones which require diesel or petrol. So yes, those are, you need to deal with the basic necessities of life prior to dealing with these bigger things, or expecting people to care about these bigger things, or a lot of these things that a lot of these woke activists care about, such as identity politics, the rights of minorities. There's a lot of things that need to be remedied in the broader society in order to actually have people, I wouldn't say care, because I think people do care, but I think there's definitely a difference between caring and showing interest and showing sympathy or even empathy and actually acting on it. And I think woke activists are very good at presenting themselves as acting on their caring sentiments and on their thought processes. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I've babbled on so much. We were meant to be watching Destiny. So anyway, I've got, let me move over to our slide. Yes, okay. There we go. Right, we've got that. There we go. Very interesting. Very interesting points being made in the chat I'm seeing, but I have rambled on too much. So I think we're going to watch this so that we don't have to hear my voice too much. Hopefully we don't get another potential. Actually, I didn't. If you didn't know, my last live stream got taken off, but I disputed it and I won. And YouTube apologized to me. I got this lovely long email saying, you know, we're sorry. Sometimes we make mistakes. And in this case, we made a mistake. I was absolutely gobsmacked. So gobsmacked. I actually had to take screenshots of it. I was YouTube apologizing, reinstating my video. My goodness. What a moment. That never happens ever. So that was incredible. I could not believe that. I think I'm still in a bit of a state of shock, to be fair. But yes, I can see that we've got some Bruegel fans here. Yes, yes, yes. I'm happy. I've got so many books on Bruegel. I'm just looking at all of them. I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I've got 6 books on Bruegel, at least here. I'm not sure how many in storage. I have a little storage for my all my main books. Actually, no, I keep my main books here that I sort of use for like videos and like to go back to and reference and everything. But then sort of other books that I haven't used that I've collected over the years are in storage, waiting until one day when I'm like 70, I can afford like maybe a little home where I can keep all my books. So yes, that will be lovely. But yes, yes. So yes, Bruegel is sacred indeed. I've always loved Bruegel's paintings. I think I just love the paintings, just it being of communities and also being of the, as Bruegel called it, the common people. I found that very interesting, and I found that very, very, it's very beautiful to see. And you always see something new in a Bruegel painting. There's always something to discover. There's always a new expression that you never saw. There's always a fable. There's always sort of social commentary about, I think, sort of the simplicity of life and how that is being, or was being, destroyed, at least, you know, early modernity. And it's just really, really beautiful and really fascinating to sort of see. And Bruegel himself, at least accounts of him, he seems like a very compassionate individual, very sort of caring about the world around him and also about his family. And I think that's it's very nice to see, and sort of very, at least for the time, very appreciative of sort of the artistic skills and education of his wife. And yes, I believe he was taught by his grandmother as well at some point in terms of his skills. So he was very, very interesting fellow, and at least based on drawings of him, also a very handsome fellow. So yes, but anyway, let's stop perving over medieval Flemish painters, and let's watch some Destiny. So let me just get my volume sorted, because I need to now. I think I can hear myself now. Is that right? Do let me know if you can hear, if you can hear this. I'm very worried that we will not be able to actually hear me. Okay. Yeah. Can you hear Destiny? Can everybody hear? Just checking. Can't hear anything. Oh gosh. Okay. Yes. Oh dear. Okay. 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 Yes, this is weird because I can't actually hear myself, and usually I can hear myself on my headphones. Okay, we're gonna try again. Oh.
See a problem with telling those people, yo, shut the up, like, because you don't have any interest in actually engaging in a debate. If someone's out there and saying,
the face of the earth, I don't think that's inherently a bad.
Wait.
This has obviously gone too far because I think progressives. Obviously. Okay. Slow down.
Can you hear now?
Usually wokeness has gone too far because progressives are really bad at engaging other people in conversation topics. I think that there's like way too much of like a ideological orthodoxy that's like enforced around like any area that progressives get their hands on. Go.
Okay, so I'm less interested in making any sort of, I guess, like positive argument. I'm just going to say that I think you're basically the one putting forward the positive argument.
No.
This has gone too far. I'm not even going to make any prescriptions as to that. I'm just going to say I think that premise is entirely false.
Oh my gosh, what is going on with my sound? Okay. Why is this happening to me? Input. External microphone. Wait, okay, so input. Okay. And then output. Okay. Okay. Let's try this. Okay. Because I can't hear myself, and usually I know that I've got it right because I can suddenly
can you concretely
hear
define
myself
what you mean by wokeness?
speaking,
Yeah, so
and now I can't. And now I can't. I can't hear myself. This is so bizarre. Oh my gosh. Why? Why does this happen? Yeah, that's great. You can hear, but I can't hear. Oh dear. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Yeah, this is the issue because I can't hear now. This is, yeah. Oh dear. Why does this happen? What have I done? Oh, what have I done to deserve this? Okay. Let me... System preferences. I'm sorry, we are having technical difficulties. We will be back momentarily. Why? Okay. So, usually, if I put... Okay, system audio is on 100. Okay. Okay, so here are my headphones. Okay, headphones are in. Okay. Now. Why can I not hear myself? Oh, this is terrible. Oh, wait. Oh my gosh. I'm being an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm being an idiot. I'm the idiot. Oh my God. It's been 2 weeks. That's why I can't. Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. Okay, I fixed this. It took a while. Everybody. Thank you for your patience. Much appreciated. Okay, so let's start. Oh, my camera's in the way. Okay, let's start from the very beginning. Okay. Yes, boomer tech indeed. You can't hear. Okay. No sound. I can literally. Oh. Okay.
go.
Okay, so I'm less interested in making any sort of, I guess, like, positive argument. I'm just going to say that I think you're basically the one putting forward the positive argument that like, this has gone too far. I'm not even going to make any prescriptions as to that. I'm just going to say I think that premise is entirely false. And the biggest problem that I have with this conversation is that
Okay, good. You can hear now. Okay. Oh my God. My heart was racing. Okay, good. I'm not going to touch anything. I just saw an interesting... Actually, I'm going to star it and then I'll get back to it. Licht Luna. I hope I pronounced that correctly, my apologies, asked a very interesting question. We'll answer that at the end of this because this can be a little off-topic thing. But they asked, do you want to get married? Interesting question. I'll have a think while we ponder destiny, trying to deal with wokeism. Okay, so let's start again. For the final time, my sincere apologies for this. Okay, let's go team.
My name is Erin, and I am here to debate if wokeness has gone too far or not.
Okay, my earlier undefeated conversation topic was that wokeness has obviously gone too far because I think progressives... Obviously.
Okay.
Slow down. Obviously, wokeness has gone too far because progressives are really bad at engaging other people in conversation topics. I think that there's like way too much of like a ideological orthodoxy that's like enforced around like any area that progressives get their hands on. Go.
Okay, so I'm less interested in making any sort of, I guess, like positive argument. I'm just going to say that I think you're basically the one putting forward the positive argument that like, this has gone too far. I'm not even going to make any prescriptions as to that. I'm just going to say I think that premise is entirely false. And the biggest problem that I have with this conversation is that can you concretely define what you mean by wokeness?
Yeah, so I think that progressives, through a lot of arguments surrounding, have you ever heard of the paradox of tolerance?
Yes, that if you're too tolerant of intolerance, you're going to create a society like Nazi Germany because you're going to let it be overrun by people who would take advantage of that.
Exactly. That through that argument of the paradox of tolerance, progressives have essentially created the system that allows them to get rid of all dissenting.
Oh yes, by the way, Destiny is a girl. Just in case you're wondering.
Opinion, because the dissenting opinions themselves represent like a threat to discourse or democracy or woke values or whatever.
Okay,
that's like the specific thing I'm kind of like pointing at.
Okay, can you give me an example of like wokeness run amok that you think is problematic, or if it were to become like a broader social trend, would be some sort of social contagion?
Yeah, so sure. So some of the things that I was kind of looking at earlier, so on the macro level, it's like the rigid enforcement of like progressive values, and if there's any deviation, you get bucked by the system or you get like, excised or whatever. For micro examples, I would say that Brett Weinstein at Evergreen College was an example of this.
Can I stop you? What do you mean by bucked by the system?
So if you're in school, people will try to like cancel you or get you kicked out. If you're like a faculty or administrator, people ask for your resignation or make it hard for you to work. If you're a researcher, people won't want to work with you or publish your stuff.
Yeah, I think it is very telling that wokeism and woke culture is very centered among universities and sort of the college campus. I think that's just all about the fact that firstly, that is the environment for young people, and also because higher education is just a business now, that obviously it's going to cater toward its main clientele to make money. And that is primarily young people who are very impressionable and who are more likely to be left-leaning. And also I think just university culture in general is just incredibly, I wouldn't say left, sort of in the sort of left political sense, because the academy is very, very much kept within its walls and doesn't really go beyond its walls, which is sort of a big criticism of academics and academic culture. It sort of stays very much within the comfort of its own rules and regulations and mores and its own living standards and life and all of that, whilst then also being incredibly critical. I'd say that it's more sort of in line with sort of critical theory, and that's sort of been something that's really taken over the academic sphere, not even recently. I'd say that this has been something that since sort of like Frankfurt, like sort of at least since the mid or 1960s or so, it's sort of been quite a prominent thing that's sort of just grown. But I think now it's far more noticeable because it isn't just something that is among faculty members who sort of are more inclined to be sort of very critical of things, but also we're quite inevitably, I think, just very tolerant of sort of digressing opinions. But now it's sort of very much in line with sort of the student as consumer rather than the student as student. And so the student's interests, the student's wants are put front and center university isn't so much about sort of educating the minds of young people in as much as it is about no, I won't say it. Yeah, I think you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But yes, yeah. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Western Values. Western Values says, I say old girl, I say old girl, the magnificent Songhai Empire lost its education in the 1400s and declined. Ottomans too. Boomers abandoned education, lived for self-indulgence. Now people unable to think. What say you? Boomers abandoned education. How did boomers abandon education? Live for self-indulgence. Oh, okay. I don't really understand the abandoned education part of the boomers. I think I do understand the sort of boomers living for self-indulgence. I think just because of the prosperity, the relative prosperity that boomers and Gen Xers have had, just very generically speaking. Has anybody watched this new show on Netflix? I just started watching it, called The Watcher. And there was one line in it that resonated. Basically, long story short, it's about this family who moved to the suburbs to this house that they cannot afford at all. They don't have the money for it. They're skint broke, but they want the life. They want the American dream. They want the big house. They want to be a part of the country club. And they start getting these anonymous letters that ultimately say that you are going to be destroyed by your greed, that you are the product of greed and gluttony, and that it will destroy you. And that I'm just here to sort of chronicle the destruction of your own humanity, because you are so invested on sort of the greed that is occupying our society. And I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've watched some episodes, and I thought there's beautiful metaphors about sort of modern life, and especially about this sort of self-indulgence, which I definitely, you can see just in terms of like the housing market, especially in the US and the UK, definitely a product of buying into a market which you do not have the money or the means for. And sort of we are living the ramifications and implications of that now, very, very, very broadly and crudely speaking. But it's interesting. It's interesting. So I need to just bring that up again. Sorry, that a lot was said there by Western Values. I say old girl. I do agree. I am quite an old girl. But okay. The magnificent Songhai Empire lost its education in the 1400s and declined. Ottomans too. Okay. Boomers abandoned education. Lived for self-indulgence. Now people unable to think. What say you? Oh gosh, that's a lot to think about. I don't think people are unable to think. I think people are just very selective in what they want to and choose to think, and are very intolerant of anything that goes against that. And I don't think that's particular to our time either. I think that there's always some variant of that in history, and always has been. I'm not sure what you mean by boomers abandoning education, though. That's rubbing me the wrong way. I'm going to need to think about that, because there's a lot in there. It's interesting nonetheless. But yes, I do agree with the live for self-indulgence. I don't think much has changed there, and I think that now we, being sort of products of that, are very much are products of that and are very inclined to that as well. I think we can see that just in impatience, because everybody's living longer. I say this all the time. We're all living longer, and everything is happening a lot later. And the social institutions which we have are not designed for us to be doing things a lot later, even though that is what is happening. It's sort of like the shell of the beast is not corresponding to all the intricacies of everything that's happening within. And there's sort of just this conflict between the whole and the parts. And the parts are now doing things a lot later, but the whole is sort of saying, well, you need to do this now. You need to be in a relationship now. You need to, be doing the nuclear family thing, buying a home, having kids, having a stable job, everything. And that's what everybody wants. I mean, I've read a recent survey which says that I think it's like 70% of Gen Z and millennials in the US say that home ownership is more important to them than even their own safety, like living in a safe area, so that they'd rather live in a unsafe area. They'd rather sort of sacrifice, move to a different state, which I think is quite, forgive me if I'm wrong, but in terms of the diversity and breadth and scope of the United States, sort of moving from a different state is literally like moving to a different country, I would say, sort of different laws, culture, customs, traditions, maybe not like so dramatic, but I would say that like to an extent, it's sort of, I think in Europe, we sort of do have an unofficial United States of Europe in a sense. And so I'd consider it sort of like me moving to France, say. Yeah, so maybe not so dramatic, but sort of like in line with that. So I think that, we still very much want these things. We want what the whole is offering and telling us to have. But modern life is sort of antithetical to that, very much so. So with things like I was answering this, I do this sometimes, I was answering this poor lad on Reddit who just said that like he's 22 and he's just feels so hopeless about dating, like he can't get women and he's frustrated, he's lonely, he feels ugly, he thinks that he's going to die alone and he doesn't know what to do. And he's just in a state of absolute like nihilism, basically. And so I just gave this like really long answer, which sort of at the root of it was about like how everything is sort of really just moving a lot further down the road in terms of, you can just see it even with everything, like in terms of women's attraction to men. Most attractive men are men who are like in their 30s and older, and least attractive, at least on dating apps, are like sort of men who are younger. And you can just see these things, like everybody is waiting a lot longer, everything is happening at a more glacial pace, shall we say. So yeah, but then everybody wants things now. I want to have a home of my own now. I want to settle. I want to do all of those shenanigans, all of that. But yeah, it's patience. But modern life and the modern market is sort of telling you that you're running out of time constantly and that you can't wait and that you need to have things in order. I don't even know where this started. I'm so sorry. We were meant to be watching Destiny. I'm so sorry. The Relyk. I'm so sorry, everybody. Okay. I will answer the other super chat. Oh, thank you so much. That is so sweet of you. Thank you. Muadnate, thank you so much. That's so lovely. Live long and prosper, kid, and the rest of y'all better hit the like button. Oh, thank you. That is so very kind of you. Thank you very, very much. Okay, let's continue with this video.
Stuff like that.
Okay, so like threats to livelihood is
yeah,
what
basically,
you're saying.
yeah. Lots of cultural pressure, lots of social pressure. Sometimes direct like pressure from staff, but lots of social and cultural pressure.
Okay, and then
so like I think Brett Weinstein at like Evergreen College was like a pretty good example of that.
okay. Why?
Where I think Brett's arguments were, even if you disagreed with them, I think they were entirely reasonable.
What were his arguments?
He felt like, are you familiar with the Evergreen College situation?
Yes, I am, but I'm interested in hearing your characterization of it. So why don't you explain it since you
that's
brought it
cool.
up?
Okay. I learned all about it in the Red Pill community, shit test and everything. So that's
Okay,
good.
nice.
Okay,
Sounds
yeah.
good. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So my understanding was that traditionally at this school, there were days, or there was like one day a year where I think it was specifically black students would take a step back and let everybody have like a day and see like, well, this is what it's like if minorities are missing, and then they do like a off-campus event or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to switch it up where they were saying, well, we're going to ask white students to leave, or white faculty or white people to leave college this day. For, I don't even know what the justification given there was, but I think Brett sent out an email where he was disagreeing, and he was saying, like, I think it's a bit different when you're asking white people to leave. I don't agree with this. I don't want to partake in this. And through that email being published and then disseminated to the student body, people got this idea that there were a lot of ideas, but basically people started to show up at his class outside. They were, I don't know if I say threatening him, but they were like screaming at him, shouting at him. They really wanted to fight over him being like racist and stuff like that. And eventually it blew into a thing where, I don't know if he ended up settling with the college before he left or whatever, but he basically left the college because of all the pressure.
Yeah, I know about this, unfortunately, because he...
Yeah, you see, this is another thing that I have also noticed that I think is sort of a unfortunate consequence of a lot of woke activism. Things are called racist that rarely aren't at all racist. And then things that are racist but are sort of on the other side or on the other foot are then not deemed racist. And I say this because I think that a lot of the sentiment of, I think, a lot of sort of woke activism is that racism, for instance, is a white people issue. It's racism is something that white people do to the rest of the world. But racism is actually, well and truly, a human issue. I mean, it really is. I mean, the racism of all communities to all communities everywhere is an issue that I think does need to be addressed and spoken about, but honestly, insofar as seeing that, you know, black people can be just as racist toward white people or to other people, that Asian people can be just as racist to other people, etc., etc. It's a whole thing. A white person can be a victim of racism. And I think that recently we actually did see that online, which nobody's actually talking about, because to say that a white individual is a victim of racism is not on brand with our current climate and culture. But there's this, does everybody know about this thing called the pink sauce? I'm sorry, this is another tangent. I'm sorry, we're probably not going to get to the end of this video at this point. I do apologize. But does everybody know about the... Yes, I completely agree with you, Alice. It's crazy how some people think whites invented it. Yes, exactly. Yes, I've never understood that sentiment at all. You know, it's something that I don't talk about a lot because I get a lot of flack for this. But you know, right now I'm in the moment, I'm in the zone, so you know, why not? Got nothing to lose. So I was thinking about this a few days ago because I was thinking of making a video on it, but then I thought, no, maybe this isn't the time. But I feel that in my experience, when I sort of count when racism does happen, it cements itself. You know it. You know that it's happened. It sort of sticks with you forever. I guess you could say in so many words. I know it's overused, but it's quite a traumatic experience, and it's sort of you remember it, and you remember it for the rest of your life. So you know, the racist encounters that I have had, I remember all of them, and the majority of them were black people being racist toward me. And saying things such as, one instance, a black woman and then her family told me that I should be ashamed of my skin color, that it is an abomination that I have my skin because, well, I'm not a good representative of black people. And so, you know, that stays with me and has stayed with me. And that is racism, but it isn't in any way conventional racism in any way. And it's, that is, I think it's important to sort of note the nuances of such things, because I think, racism, as I said, it's a human thing. It's not a white people thing. It's not a black people thing. It's not a orange people thing. It's a human thing. So, and that's me being from South Africa. So yeah. I saw somebody saying like racism versus xenophobia. This happened in South Africa though, and I am South African and the people were South African, but yes, there is definitely a distinction between xenophobia and racism, although I think that they are very closely tied, and that they do breed into each other very much so. I think especially in South Africa, in terms of just the sort of perspective of protecting, say, black South Africans against primarily black Zimbabweans. That's sort of like the mindset of it, even though it is a lot more nuanced, of course. It's more so like sort of, say, Zulus against Shona individuals, whom actually, if we look at history, are all a part of the Zulu kingdom. But alas, nothing needs to make sense when it comes to making truth claims and feeling like your actions and your beliefs are above that of everybody else. That is the state of human beings as being sort of meaning-seeking creatures. So yes, it's it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. But what I was saying about the sauce, the pink sauce. I'm sorry, we will watch this, even if we just watch this first one, we will. But there's the pink. I have to show you this now. Oh, we are going on a tangent. Okay, I'll keep that open. I'll open another tab. Okay. Let's go to YouTube again. Okay. Oh, it's so nice having my own internet now, because now I can actually, everything goes so quickly. Okay. What? Okay, pink sauce. Lady talk show. Right. Okay, this is fascinating stuff. Okay, basically, the pink sauce lady, if you don't know, this is a TikTok thing. This woman called Chef Pie, I believe, woman with the pink hair in pink. A few months ago, she invented the sauce, which is basically ranch sauce, but it is pink and it looks like Pepto-Bismol. And looks absolutely ghastly, but it went viral on TikTok and she started selling it across the United States. Now, she started selling it without it being FDA approved, without any tests being done on this sauce, without any sort of expertise involved in the mass production of the sauce, in ensuring that all the ingredients were sound, that, everything. And she just started sending it out to individuals on TikTok who saw it and thought, wow, this is a trend. I need to be a part of this. So I'm going to pay this random woman on the internet $20 for a bottle of this pink sauce. So people started getting their sauce. And obviously this was an absolute disaster. This sauce was sent out in the sort of middle of summer, across the United States, and people were, I'm sure people, I don't know if people got sick, but I think in terms of it, just the quality of the sauce, people's bottles had exploded. People had sauce that was sort of a diluted pink, some different shades of pink, everything. It was all just going very, very wrong. As an individual, ultimately, this woman here, who I can't click on it because it makes this weird thing. Yes, over here. Yes. This woman here, this white woman, I'm afraid I do not know her name, but she's a makeup artist, I believe, on TikTok. She reviewed it on a TikTok video and she found a piece of glitter inside it. And she decided to send a sample of the sauce off to a lab for testing to just see if it was okay. So anyway, this all died down. And it died down, I think, just because it was, typical trend, just suddenly everybody's talking about it, then nobody is. But then I think about a week ago, Chef P went on to this daytime talk show that is, I'd never heard of it before, but it's called the Karamo Show. And it's a majority African-American audience, and it's a show that's hosted by this individual called Karamo, and I've never watched it before, but I think it's very with the times, just sort of in talking about modern issues, modern things to do with sort of, I think, internet culture, relationships, very, I would say, what you would say in line with sort of a lot of sort of woke narrative, at least surrounding sort of race, critical race theory, and empowering also the Black community. So, there's everything sort of in this show. That's what I sort of get the sense of it being. Anyway, they decided to have Chef Pie on the show, and it was intriguing because it was, I don't know if there's a re-upload of the show. Oh, I think somebody did re-upload it because ultimately it was deleted because it was, the host deleted it because it was just so bad. I think there must be a re-upload. There's got to be a re-upload somewhere. I watched a re-upload. I'm sure I did. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. We've left Destiny. We've left Destiny. Oh gosh. Yes, there we go. We've got it. Okay. Yes. I think we have to watch this. I'm sorry. This is just too much. It was terrible. But this proves my point, I think. And this is something that none of the commentary drama channels are talking about it, because ultimately all these channels are run by white individuals, or at least individuals who I assume are white, just based on their physical appearance. And so all their descriptions of it are that this is just a case of treating a customer badly. But we're watching this, and I strongly believe that this was racism. This was racism. And like, I get accused of being a pick-me or defending white people and all of this. No, I really don't care about any people except the people who I know in my intimate life and care about and love. So I don't. But, when I see a duck, I call it a duck. And this is just bizarre. So we're now watching this, considering that I'm just going on tangents anyway. So here we go.
So here's my bottle. I'm just a little worried about it being swollen. I don't know if this is considered swollen or not. Check the seal. Everything's good on that.
So this is the review that this particular TikToker, this makeup guru, is doing of the pink sauce when it was going viral. So this is just the review, just showing
the aftertaste, I'm not messing with. It's like watered down ranch. It's not bad. Definitely not worth $20 a bottle, but we support small businesses. I don't know if she's fixing things or not. That's not my problem. Today, when I went to go open it, something is not right. The smell that's coming out of this bottle, something is wrong. It's rotten. So I pulled out the bottle and I opened it up and I had to stick my finger inside of it, but there is a piece of glitter. Is it edible glitter? Am I going to die? Is it safe? I would be so interested to sending this to a food safety testing lab, and I think it's like $300. I'm willing to send this to be tested.
Okay, so I don't think that this is too melodramatic, especially considering the entire scandal around this pink concoction, right? It was, and, she said the typical thing that everybody, Renee's pointed out, support small businesses. Yes. A very small business here indeed. But, it's I don't think it's too unreasonable. And in this age where everything is like documented of like things like this, like I get it, okay? It's not edible glitter. Yes. In your Pepto-Bismol ranch. Oh goodness. Oh, humans are so funny. You love to hate them. You really do.
All right, everyone, please welcome Allie to the show. Hi. You can have a...
Now, just that reaction from the audience there, that face, like that face that was just pulled, just over here.
Allie to the show. Hi.
Just what? I'm sorry. Carry on.
Nice to meet you. Take a seat. All right, so this is the first time you two have ever met each other, right?
Correct.
Okay, then. And you're both influencers, obviously, on TikTok. Now, before we go any further, I do have to ask this, Allie, because my producers did tell me that the reason that we had to separate the couches is because you didn't feel comfortable in sitting next to Chef Pete.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't met her yet, and just kind of the last line of her saying that I harassed her just didn't make me uncomfortable, because I never set out to harass anybody. And I think that's like a little bit delusional to say something like that.
So tell me, from your perspective, she says that she didn't harass you.
I think it's delusional to send a sample to a laboratory after you stuck your finger in it.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because we don't have these.
Why are they cheering that and saying, yeah? I'm sorry. If there's something, right? I think this is perfectly acceptable. If there's something that has gone this viral of food, and that there's so many scandals around it, cases of people getting sick, of people's bottles exploding, of coming like completely like open, unsanitized, then I get it. I sort of get it, especially when the food isn't, firstly, discovered it's not FDA approved, that there's been sort of nothing, it hasn't been approved anywhere. I think that's actually quite an acceptable thing to do, to actually send it to a lab just to figure out what is actually in there, when the ingredients on the label, I think another controversy around it was that the ingredients on the label, there was misspelling, there were the wrong amounts of things in it. Apparently there was no dairy in it, but obviously there was, because it was a ranch. It was just, it didn't make any sense, right? And so if something doesn't make sense to you, you're going to look for an expert or an authority, in this case, a food testing lab, to figure out what it is that you're ultimately going to be putting into your body. So if the company or the individual who is making this sauce isn't providing you with any answers and any explanations, then you're going to look elsewhere, surely. So, I don't think it's too extreme, really, given the circumstances, but each to their own.
These details, and I need to know this. So when you tasted Chef Pete's sauce, you did the viral video, which everyone does those. People did their taste test. But you then went further. Tell me what you then did.
So I saw it and I was like, wow, this is such a cool sauce. It's bright pink, like I'm a sauce girl. So when I was doing the review, there was just so many red flags that I saw in it, like the label, when you make a USDA label, you have to put in batch numbers, because if something were to be recalled, you have to be able to trace it down to the salt and pepper that is in something. And so if something...
Wait, not to cut you off, but to cut you off. So you didn't...
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, that always gets me. I'm so sorry. It's when somebody says, no offense, but you're ugly. It's that sort of thing. You're going to offend me, but
see the video because you follow me, right?
Well, I want to hear Allie.
Yeah, absolutely. You had your time to talk, so just let me have mine. So I understand, like, if it does have dairy in it, you see all these concerns. You saw my TikTok. I follow you. You have my address, my phone number, my email. Once I posted my original video, if you wanted to make things right, as a business owner, when you create a product, that's your pride and joy. You send it off to someone, they don't like it. You're like, oh my gosh, like, that's my pride and joy. Let me fix it.
So you weren't contacted by Chef Pete?
No, and the thing is, if you knew I had a problem with it, you could have contacted me and I could have turned around. And I'm not a hateful person. I could have been like, wow, Chef Pete contacted me.
So you're saying saying that you can't.
Yeah, you see, I get that. Yeah, I do get that. Like if somebody reviews something and it's bad, right? It's not really their job to then contact you and sort of make things right. That's on your part as sort of the business owner, the person trying to gain their trust, gain their loyalty. So I do get it. I get it. I do get it on that part. I do think, however, in this whole situation, Chef P was a bit out of her depths with just everything that sort of flooded her way when the sauce went viral. She wanted it to. That was the whole point of it. But I don't think she realized what that would actually realistically entail. Going viral is all well and good in theory, but when it actually happens, I cannot imagine that it is a good thing at all. That's why I sort of see a lot of people, when they go viral, they sort of just leave for a few months, for like a long period of time, because it just is so overwhelming. And I think Chef P in this whole thing just doubled down on her convictions that she was right and everybody else is wrong. And I don't think that helps anyone. So, yeah.
Contacted me.
No, I'm saying you didn't contact me.
Okay, but why would I contact someone who's fabricating something on the internet?
But nothing was fabricated.
To be honest, you're not special. You're not special. Okay? So why should I lose?
Okay, this is the first instance when watching this that I thought that isn't about source, that isn't about customer service. She's saying she's not special, basically insinuating my interpretation of this, and based on the audience's response to this, she's saying you're not special, you as a white woman, as like a white young, I guess we could say maybe like Karen, you're not special. That's what I got when I first listened to this, and the way that the audience responded to it, that really hit home for me, especially just in this climate that we have now, because there was no clarification after saying you're not special. Because I think that if she had meant you're not special as a customer, she would have said you're not special as a customer. And that, I think, is just, I think this is an example of when woke goes too far, because this then ultimately just reinforces something that you're trying to dispel and get rid of, but just on the other foot. And it's not helping anybody at all. And clearly the response to the show just shows how it doesn't help anybody.
My mind and approach you directly when you're fabricating something on the internet.
Well, I will say this, because I want to hear both of your sides. I will say this. As Chef P, as a businesswoman, no matter what someone reviews your products, unfortunately, everyone is special to you, because that's going to be your business.
I could have, taken down the
Yeah, but that's not what she meant, really. Let's be honest. God.
video and done my testing and kept it to myself, which I did.
No, you could have reached out to me like, hey girl, you know what? I see what you're doing, it's amazing and all. I'm a supporter, but I think you should look into this. Take this step. Did you research this? Did you check out your packaging there? Versus trying to tear down my business and my livelihood.
I'm sorry. This is the thing. This is a thing that has also, I've seen this a lot, and I had this issue, like a little sort of minor issue like this on a video that I did recently. This notion that some people, especially I think sort of the most vocal voices within sort of, I would say sort of the more woke inclined spheres of the internet and just of our modern culture, who typically are sort of minorities, like they are either, say, Black or a like minority just in terms of sexuality or whatnot. There seems to be this notion that because I am a minority, because I'm at a disadvantage, because I am this, that, and the other. I am above criticism, and that any criticism, even if it is valid, which in a lot of cases it is valid criticism, even if it is valid, it is ultimately undermining me, and therefore that just invalidates it entirely and completely. And that is an incredibly unhelpful, uneducated, and counterproductive direction and avenue to go down ultimately. And it really is not going to end in a good way at all. And it is sad to see. It is sad to see. I don't think it's, as I said at the beginning of the stream, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think much is going to change in this light and in this sphere of things. But yeah, I can see people disagree with me on this. But yes, let's carry on.
You could have contacted me directly, can
you receive that?
Yeah, and
you keep saying that I should have reached out to you, but and I'm gonna touch your hand when I say this. When I said that you're not special, I meant that as you're not special as far as someone trying to hurt me. So I didn't take it as a direct insult because I know the industry and I know how people.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That is just so. That is like it's mansplaining. You know what they said with mansplaining. This is like that, but now on the other foot, and just with regards to race. I'm sorry. This is just. It's just. I don't know what this is. I'm sorry. I just don't. This entire interaction is just horrible. It's really, really horrible. And it's not in any way a sincere or genuine interaction at all. And it's just, oh gosh, it's horrible. And the thing is that this young woman here, Ali, I believe her name is, like any interaction, like any actual racist interaction, because I do hold firmly that I do believe that this was a very racist interaction, that this was, if the roles had been switched, we would be calling it racist. But because we live in the culture that we do, it's not being called that at all. It's sadly not actually acknowledged to be that, which I think is not helpful for anybody in the long term, and definitely not helpful for actually undermining such things from happening and from actually being platformed in any way, I guess, if that's what some people want. But it is just, it makes me incredibly uneasy just watching this, and it gets worse, just so you know, a lot worse.
Use different topics to build their platforms. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Ariana, yes, I see your point. The thing is that a lot of the hate that Chef Pie has been getting is, I would say, very much of her own doing, based on her response to people's initial concerns with regards to her source. She was incredibly, not even defensive, but offensive toward individuals who actually raised concerns about whether it was FDA approved. There's videos on it of her responding, basically saying, why does it need to be FDA approved? I'm not selling drugs, this is food. And just being incredibly patronizing, incredibly condescending. And inevitably when that happens, and when you ignore people actually trying to communicate with you honestly about something, because initially everybody was very excited about this and very pro this woman and her source and very on her side. People were a bit like, what is this? This is weird. People thought, oh gosh, it looks like Pepto-Bismol. But that was kind of the only criticism and hate, if you want to call it that, this woman was getting initially. It was only once she started sending out the sauce and ultimately got a bit too big for her boots, I would say, that people then started to actually criticize her. And then when she went on the attack, they started to send hate her way. I think all of the hate, not all of it, obviously, but I think a lot of the hate which she has been receiving could have been prevented just by her actually acting like a businesswoman ought to act, a business person ought to act, which is not to take things personally, especially when you get criticism for your product, to try and rectify a situation by sort of that typical sentiment of not necessarily that the customer knows best, but that you can try to make the customer at least feel like they know best, or that they are being heard, or that their concerns are actually being taken seriously. And that is how you stay in business. Whether it's fair or not is irrelevant, because that's just the rules of the game that we are currently playing and find ourselves in. So I do think a lot of this was preventable on the part of Chef Pie. And I do think that this interaction, especially based on all the negative reviews and I guess hate, you could call it, that Chef Pie was getting prior to going on this show last week, it is very suspect that she finds herself in a situation where in this sort of microcosm of this studio, of this talk show, she is of the majority. Then there's just a single white woman who is in this situation the minority. And suddenly everybody is on her side, even though there is absolutely no viable explanation for anybody actually realistically being on her side, based on what she has done and based on a lot that she has gotten away with, which she otherwise wouldn't. But because this all happened on TikTok, which is just anarchy as it would inevitably manifest itself, this hasn't really gone beyond sort of the sphere of TikTok and the Business Insider, I would say. But she's gotten away with a lot of things that individuals who just made sauce in the real world would not get away with at all. And is now even, I think she's like working with some superstore or something to sort of launch the sauce like the correct way. So she's ultimately like, she's making good money from this and making a name for herself, even after all of this happened, which nobody else, I can guarantee you, 99% of people who, if they'd done what she'd done, would not have a chance in this business, in this market at all. Like, if you screw up once, that's that. Yeah, there's no sort of bygones be bygones and then just carry on. But she's ultimately using a lot of things which she always references. You know, she's a woman, she's a minority, she's at a disadvantage, she's the victim of the hateful mob. And that, you know, this whole narrative of sort of empowering women and everything is very much, I would say, sort of aiding her in this situation and in this particular talk show where she is actually finds herself in the majority and people are agreeing with her. Why? Not because of her source, not because of how she's acted at all, but because of what I definitely wholeheartedly believe to be a very racially charged situation and context. And as I said, it's about to get worse. I believe. I haven't watched this in a while, but I believe it is about to get worse.
And I forgive you.
At the end of the day, I think at the end of the day.
She says that she forgives her. For what? What did she do?
I think this is a moment of reflection.
Absolutely, and I think it's a moment of learning on both parts.
I think the learning is more on your part.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's being real. And then being real here. Because I literally...
That cemented it for me. That cemented it for me. This is more a learning on your part. As a customer, is this just about her being a customer? And even if this is just about her being a customer and posting a video on TikTok, reviewing a product, which everybody does. I mean, that's TikTok, people reviewing things, making reaction videos to things. That is the thing. Nobody forced Chef Pie to put the sauce onto TikTok and to try to go viral with it. This was completely her own initiative, her own domain, her own choice, her own agency. And that's what happens on the internet, inevitably. So this was just... that really cemented it for me. I'm so sorry. That was just terrible. Absolutely, there was no sense in that. This was more a learning experience or a learning point on your part. Wow.
Really, the thing is the matter of that her business, her livelihood, her safety is being affected now. And these are things that we don't think about. Mm-hmm. This moment is for you to realize that your power...
Again, her agency, she's the one who decided to make herself viral, to go, well, she decided to try to go viral and it worked. Anything to do with her safety, I don't understand how this one customer out of hundreds of thousands probably, how this customer is responsible for her safety and her livelihood. This one individual isn't. This entire situation, as I said, was completely preventable by the very individual who is at the root of this, which is the business owner herself. And to just pass the blame onto somebody else for something is incredibly disingenuous. And I think to pass it on in this incredibly racially charged situation is just not at all helpful in the sense of in any way getting people on the side of, I guess, woke activism, getting people on the side of actually viewing, say, critical theories about our modern society, critical theories of individuals, of minorities, in a positive light or in a light that is in any way going to induce people to engage authentically and meaningfully with them. And it's sad. It's sad because this could have gone so much better. This could have been a real learning experience for both parties, as I believe her name is Ali said, because, I think, of course, we can all be quite critical on the internet, unnecessarily critical. We can go too far, we can get caught up in the hype, we can buy sauce made by an absolute stranger on the internet, and a lot of people were saying, well, it's her own fault, she bought it from a stranger on the internet. And yes, I guess it depends on how you see it, but at the same time, that is the nature of the world that we live in, whether we like it or not. And I think that they could have, I think, ultimately, I do believe that it was primarily, very much, the vast majority of the learning was on the part of our chef Pie. But I think that, or P, sorry, I keep pronouncing it incorrectly, I'm sorry. The vast majority of the learning was on the part of the chef, but this just went in a completely different direction, regrettably.
Power is really in what you're saying and what you're doing. And that one video that you did for that second, the follow-up video, had ripple effects that you have to acknowledge is there. Because if it was on the other foot, you'd be sitting here upset, crying, mad, if you had to move every week because you and your child were in danger.
Absolutely. So
this is the moment for you just to say, you know what? Next time, I will take this step. Before I post something, I'm going to do my research. Before I do something, I'm going to reach out to her.
It's ironic, isn't it? Because it would appear that our host here hasn't done his research into the situation and is just going on an assumption that this is just a situation of another entitled white woman using her privilege, her power, and her colorblindness to undermine and put down a disadvantaged black woman who is now a victim of the internet and the mob who are trying to bring her down because racism. That's ultimately what this is. And it's sad to see, because I do think that this is when people say woke has gone too far. I think that this is sort of definitely an example of it going too far. And it's sad because I don't see it sort of ending anytime soon. I don't think a lot of people think that it has gone far enough, and I don't think it's going to be terribly impactful. Again, I don't think that it's going to achieve all of its ends, because I think that it just is going to sort of be confined to these sort of smaller examples of sort of two influencers having it out on a talk show about source. This isn't really, groundbreaking stuff, to be fair, or life-changing, but it is something that people are interested in, are engaging in, are talking about. It is, quite it's an internet thing, so it does have an influence, at least on sort of viewers who are seeing this and then think, wow, this is not on. Why is this happening? Because it doesn't make any sense. This whole situation makes no sense.
I do something, I'm really going to realize, is this really my responsibility? Your responsibility is to build each other up as women. All right, listen, never forget that social media can unconsciously or...
Your responsibility is to build each other up as women. Says the man. No. No, building each other up. It's like when you are raising a child. You're not going to let that child do whatever it wants to do because that's building them up and giving them freedom. No, you're going to criticize their actions. You're going to discipline them. You're going to say when they do something wrong. You're going to say when they do something right, but you're not going to just say, oh, you're doing everything right, or not say anything when they do something wrong, because that's what ultimately builds a person up. That's ultimately what makes a person better, actually being critiqued on things that are worth critiquing, actually developing themselves as human beings and individuals, which is definitely not what happened in this situation, and it's just an absolute disaster fire. And I think that, as I said, if the roles were reversed in this, everybody would be calling out that this was racist. But because this is the internet, it's just interesting seeing a lot of the commentary channels speaking about this. Like, none of them are bringing up this very obvious aspect of it, I would say, which is the sort of the racial aspect of it, which is just not being addressed, especially not by Karamo himself. I think if I actually look, Karamo Show, I think, no, he hasn't. Him or his team removed the video from the channel, and I believe that they haven't. There's been nothing. Has there been a community post? All these posts. Yes, there's been absolutely no post, no apology, nothing. The comments are all, I believe that they're all, yes, all the comments, very reassuring, seeing these comments, because it's very, very much egging him on to actually do right. But the fact that this individual, this man, is not willing to apologize to this woman and this white woman, I think it says something about sort of where we are, at least in terms of just whether wokeism, I guess you could call it, whether it has actually achieved its ends, or is achieving the ends that it wants to achieve, in a situation where humans can't even now admit when they're wrong, can't even apologize, can't even extend humanity to other individuals, because that just conflicts with their agenda or their particular worldview on things. And that's why I also said that I think that a lot of this woke stuff is very, very sort of imbued with sort of religious aspects and tenets and sort of dictates, because it is very self-righteous. It is very much it is very sort of like, it's sort of a moral code in and of itself for a lot of people. And so I think that is also what's very difficult to sort of navigate it, because I mean, it is sort of like being cancelled is sort of like being persecuted for blasphemy in a sense. If we're going back in history, it has interesting parallels to that, sort of being shamed, being completely sort of excommunicated from sort of spheres of modern life, from your job, from your career, from your friends even, because you don't hold the right views, because you don't see social injustice in the same way as sort of this incredibly morally charged sort of sphere of things. And of course, not all woke activists and woke spheres of the internet and of life are sort of on par with sort of, say, I guess Karamo's a effective example of this, I would say, currently or momentarily, just based on everything. But it's interesting. It is interesting, and it's I think it is quite sad. Regrettably, I do find it quite sad, just in terms of people actually coming together in the way that I think people need to and want to, actually, to really live together interdependently, and to just appreciate difference, and appreciate also, I just think, the nuance of the human experience, because, sorry, I hope you can still hear me now, because yeah, I think there's a lot of things, like I mean, I hear people saying that they couldn't be friends with somebody who was homophobic or racist even. And I am a believer that you can be, because I am actually friends with a lot of homophobic people. And even, I would say, with a lot of people who I would say that they are racially biased, definitely, in terms of their perspectives on particular races, including my own. But I think that it's important to realize and appreciate sort of, okay, where does this person come from? Why are they the way that they are? Because I think it's quite easy to understand why somebody might be racist or might be whatever phobia or phobic, based on just their lived experience, based on their cultural influences, based on how they grew up, based on an experience that they may have had that was traumatic, based on a plethora of things which I would never be privy to and could never understand from my perspective of where I come from. And I think it's just a matter of all of us sort of just coming together and actually understanding that all of us come from very different places, very different understandings, very different belief systems, and very different sort of socializations and rearing, especially like childhood rearing and upbringing, which is very sort of impactful in its different and varying ways. And I think if we can just sort of humanize each other as individuals, we can get past a lot. I mean, when I revealed to one of my friends who's very, very petrified of queer individuals, of lesbians, gays, bisexuals, the lot. When I did eventually reveal to her, just sort of in a passing comment, that, I have been with women and that, I do find women attractive. It was sort of, I could see sort of her mind sort of doing a bit of wait, what? This is because she'd already humanized me and sort of personified me, and I was sort of I am her friend, and she loves me and cares for me. But then it completely went against her worldview of sort of, these blasphemous heathens, sort of living in Sodom. But ultimately, because we'd been through just so much together. It's fine, and it's okay. And our friendship actually is not in any way based around what I have done in the dark and in the light, but it's based on other things, and so it's worked out and it's fine. And I love her, she loves me, and I think I've had quite a positive influence on sort of her perspective of individuals, and she's taught me a lot as well, just in terms of just understanding where she's coming from, her culture, her upbringing, her everything. So I think it's important, and I think a lot of woke sentiment sort of undermines that possibility. And I think also, on the other hand, a lot of sort of the fear-mongering, on the other hand, of, I think, groups and perspectives which sort of see the woke agenda as being dangerous and sort of really leading to the decimation of modern society and Western civilization as we know it, sort of have their own agenda as well, ultimately. And so I think we're just in this, as I said, a quagmire, a real quagmire here. And I don't see it getting any better anytime soon, regrettably. Which is why I just do what Candide did, and I just tend to my garden. So it's the way to go. I'm going to be going in 5 minutes, but I did see a super chat. Please tell me that I haven't just been speaking and the volume has been off this whole time. No, I haven't. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, gosh. I thought it was going to be like the week before last, when I was just going off and YouTube had taken down the stream, unfortunately. Thank you so much, Carla, again, for your super chat. You're so kind in supporting the channel in this way. Thank you so much. I think one core issue is seeing hypocrisy, dogmatic thinking, and self-righteousness in others, but not in ourselves, when all these shortcomings are being human. We all have blind spots. Exactly. That's beautiful. That's being starred. Yes, exactly. As humans, we all have shortcomings. We all have more flaws than we do good aspects, most definitely. And I think that's the beauty of human beings, really, well and truly. Yes, we all have blind spots, indeed, most definitely. That is very, very true. I cannot agree with you more. I just applause. Do I have an applause here? Yes, I do. I'm so sorry, but I hope it worked. But yes, I completely agree with you on that one. Uzo, I know we disagree on this. I do. I hope we can agree to disagree. But yes, imagine having a friend that would have literally owned me as property a few years ago. F that. A few years ago, I think well over a century ago. But at the same time, they wouldn't have, because that's history and the passage of time. I personally, and each to their own, I understand that there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of unanswered just questions and unanswered just in terms of just a lot of closure that is not being permitted. I do empathize and I do understand that. Coming from South Africa, I get it. I do get it, most definitely. But it in no way helps to create enemies out of ghosts, because ultimately being friends with somebody now, being friends with, say, a white person in the US, right? I assume that you're a black individual. I assume that you're African American. I'm so sorry. I don't have much information on you here, but how is that individual responsible for what their ancestors, not even their direct ancestors, did historically, and in a very particular time in history, which is something that I've also had to come to terms with just in terms of South African history, because a lot of the individuals who are raising me, I was raised by white families, my entire childhood, different white families. And a lot of them lived, well, all of them actually, lived through apartheid and lived in the apartheid system and benefited from it in various ways. Of course, not all white people. In the United States as well, and also in South Africa, not all white people benefited equally from such a system. There were many poor white South Africans who did not benefit from apartheid either. So I think nuance is very important in all of this. But I think just in the general culture of things, definitely being humanized and recognized as human beings and being enfranchised, at least relative to Black South Africans, definitely. But at the same time, a lot of these individuals lived in a world and lived in a culture that was there, that they were born into and were socialized in. And when that is what everybody around you is saying, and that is what you've grown up in, and that is what you have been reared to believe, and especially when you're sort of in a bit of a contradictory situation, inevitably, where you have, I saw this a lot in just sort of the, I can't even remember what it's called now, trials of reconciliation, just talking about sort of a difficult situation of sort of loving your immediate family, your white immediate family, your father who was like your, like, you know, you were just idolized your father, like as, you know, a dewy-eyed little girl, and then realizing that he would go off at the end of the day to go and basically slaughter individuals because they were Black. And that contradiction of loving this individual who is your father, whom you love, who has raised you, who treats you like the golden apple of his eye, and then realizing that this is what he does or has done, and having to also just deal with that. I mean, that's something as well. And I think that's what a lot of people actually, like, it's sort of, when I see sort of trials, like right now, Elizabeth Holmes is on trial, likely going to prison for a very long time, and just seeing sort of her family supporting her. I mean, it makes no sense to me, absolutely none whatsoever to me. But then they know her personally. Her parents have raised her. You know, it's like a whole history that none of us are privy to. And I think when we make those generalizations about individuals, it gets very murky and we don't get anywhere. And I think a lot of opportunities at humanization and a lot of opportunities of actually cathartic interaction with individuals that could actually really instigate the kind of closure that a lot of individuals, a lot of minorities need. Those avenues are just shut because of what I feel is sort of a growing resentment and a growing anger, especially anger at things that are just very trivial. Like, I mean, there was a woman on TikTok, I believe, this made general news. She got angry because Drew Barrymore made a TikTok of her dancing in the rain. And this woman got angry because she said, why is this white woman dancing in the rain? Like, this is just so, just everything. And just got furious about, was really like raging about Drew Barrymore, this privileged white woman running in the rain. It's just sort of when people are just living as all human beings do, all of us are actually, for the majority of our life, for the majority of our day, even the social justice warriors, even the activists, the majority of our time, we are spending eating, pooping, sleeping, and caring about our immediate family and our immediate interests, like rent, mortgage, the trivial everyday things. We're not, for the majority of time, unless we sort of have the means to not worry about these everyday things, we are not for the majority of time thinking about how we are going to make the world a better place, how we are going to undermine the TERFs on Twitter, how, we're going to, I don't know, make the world, as I said, a better place for all people? How are we going to instigate the revolution? People aren't thinking about that. And to get angry at individuals who happen, by mere fact of just human existence, to have been born white and to have been born into a white culture, into the United States or into the UK or wherever, to just get angry at them for living just as human beings, just in this point in time, it doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't, especially not you. I don't know who you is. I don't know who I'm talking to as you, but it doesn't help anyone. It really doesn't. And I think we can get a lot further by actually talking with each other and actually being, I wouldn't even say sympathetic to each other. I think empathetic, because I think we have a lot more in common than we have otherwise, which we don't appreciate as much, and we don't want to appreciate as much, because I think it's very scary, and it's also, yeah, it's difficult, it's scary, and it also, I think, requires a lot of compromise, and we're not very good at compromise, especially not in this day and age. We're terrible with compromise, awful with compromise, awful with negotiating and coming to sort of a consensual understanding of things that doesn't involve me getting everything that I want or you getting everything that you want. And it's not helping anybody. It really isn't. Sadly, it isn't. I think we can do better, I think, as human beings, and I think we ought to do better, just for the sake of just trying to get by. I think we all have the common issue that everything's getting a lot more expensive, that everything is politically is not going very well, just in terms of the just general infrastructure of things, just the voting process, just politicians as a class are proving themselves incredibly disappointing the world over. I think we have a lot of common appreciations that we should really be capitalizing on. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but I don't see much happening, unfortunately, in that direction. So I saw some super chats, and then we'll be off. I said I was going to go long. This is turning into a 3-hour stream at this point. I'm so sorry. Anyway, thank you so much, Western Values, again, for your super chats. Very much appreciated. I survived horrific childhood violence. Police refused to help. I read encyclopedias nonstop. They gave me a mind, plus a huge worldview, education. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's absolutely terrible. That is terrible. I cannot imagine. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. And yes, I agree. Education is everything. Education, it helps a lot. It very much, it helps. And not just the education from books, but most importantly, the education from experience and from engaging with other people, with a diverse array of human beings. We need that. If you're just listening to people who agree with you and people who are just an echo chamber, or people who just see everything the way that you see it, there's no room for learning. And you can see that even when people try to debate each other. I think just that inability to actually have debates with each other, or to have meaningful debates that don't just spiral into swearing at each other, or somebody just ending the call, or things like that, or now just not engaging in debate whatsoever. And this particularly is a thing that I see, at least on YouTube, with the left or BreadTube, just not debating at all, or not willing to debate at all, not willing to even entertain a contrary or the contrarian opinion. It's seen as like pointless is the excuse for it. I don't think that is what is actually the excuse for it, but it's sad. It is sad to see, regrettably. Thank you so much, Donnie, for your super chat as well. That's so kind of you. Thank you. Oh, and thank you for being here. I hope you have a lovely week ahead. Yes, thank you so much. It's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm seeing Joshua Craig. We need communication. We do indeed. Yes, we do. We need proper, honest communication with each other. I think that is fundamental to everything. Yes, and I agree with you. Apolitical Me. Love that name. Love that name. Yes, I do. Completely agree with that. Yes. No one can control when and where they're born, making enemies for no reason. Ultimately, yes, it is making enemies for no reason whatsoever. It's sad, and it's so unnecessary, and it's not helping anybody, really. Why Kidology? Why use clickbait titles? Did I clickbait? I don't believe I did. I said, has work gone too far? I don't believe I clickbaited. I don't think I did. I mean, I'm not against clickbaiting. I mean, I understand people need to make money. They need to get clicks, all of that. I get it. But I don't believe I did. I don't think I clickbaited with this video. I really don't think I did. But yes. Anyway, I'm seeing a lot of comments. I will go through all of your comments in the morning. I will, when I go through and make the timestamps. Let me just, thank you so much, Rigor Mortis, for your super chat. I'm going to go in like 60 seconds, but thank you so much for your super chat. I really do enjoy learning about things I don't need in my life. Pink Sauce Gate from you. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Yes. I was thinking of making a video about the pink sauce thing, but I decided not to. So I'm glad I did get to speak about it, because I did have some thoughts about that. Yes. So anyway, interesting times for all of us. Very interesting times. But I, indeed, Rocky. Drew Barrymore cancelled in the rain. I mean, it was just, oh my gosh, it was, honestly, it's, oh, you can't do even just something as stupid and meaningless as just dancing in the rain and posting it to TikTok, which, you know, it's oh dear, oh my goodness, oh, it's a, oh, weird thing. Yeah. I'm Rinny, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, honestly, I'm going to do that. Next time, it's raining now. I might go for a nice midnight cycle, record myself. And is anybody going to be the designated white person who's going to go on a TikTok rampage saying how absolutely terrible it is that this black girl is cycling in the rain? Oh my gosh, it's something I can imagine Pegeen doing. If you know, you know. Pegeen is a fictitious individual on our channel, just because I said I think in a video, in The Sims, I name all of my Sims Pegeen, I think, because I love the, I don't know why, I love the name Pegeen. I adore that name, absolutely love that name. Pegeen is just, there's something about that name that I just love. And people in the chat, particularly Rinny, was making fun of me for my love of the name Pegeen, but I do adore the name Pegeen. It's yeah. So yeah, I can imagine Pegeen making something like that, making a video like that. Oh yes, typical stream. Yes, we were going to watch Destiny, but alas, did that happen? Did it? No, it did not indeed. Oh dear. Yes, Uza, I'm so sorry. I think that I just, because I'm terrible at following the chat. I'm sure that you have said a lot and clarified a lot of things, and I've just literally taken one statement that you said in the chat and then gone on a tangent on that. So I do apologize on my part for that, because I'm sure there's so much more nuance to what you were saying. I just picked up certain things that you were saying and pointing out, and then I went on that. So just for reference, everyone, things that I was going on a tangent about are not directed at Uzo at all, because I need to go back and read through everything that Uzo has said, and then, you know, everything. So just take what I said just with reference to just like a statement that I've read and then just gone off on a tangent about that. So I do apologize because I'm sure there is a lot of ships passing silently in the night with us on this live stream. So I do apologize, Uzo. So thank you for bearing with me. Definitely. I do appreciate it. So yes. Anyway, I think it is time for me to go. It is, yes, I cannot, my voice is going. I need some water desperately. So yes. So it is. Thank you so much, Green Pill. It's great. It's great when Green Pill Neo supports me. I appreciate it very, very much. Yes. So, and I was going to answer your question, Lich Luna. I'm so sorry. Your question about marriage. You know, my opinions on marriage have changed very, very dramatically in the last, I would say, year or so. We can talk about that maybe on the next live stream because they have changed a lot. I mean, I used to be very anti-marriage, very sort of I'd say in a way anti-monogamy. Yes, yeah, I think so. Yes. But I would say my opinions have changed quite a lot. I wouldn't say like a complete U-turn, but definitely changed in the sense of I think I've become a lot more tolerant of human beings and of human the frailty of the human condition, and sort of come to sort of appreciate that in a way. And so yeah, I think a lot of my opinions have changed, and I think also just in a world now where there's a lot of things that sort of have, I guess, a higher meaning and sort of are very faith-based, like sort of just having to actually have faith in people, in your community and things, have really died out. I think marriage is sort of the lone bastion that sort of just stands as sort of an institution, I guess, where it is very much trusting somebody and really having to trust somebody and have faith in them without any guarantee that your efforts and that your faith and trust are actually going to produce any fruit in the long term. And I think that is it's a difficult thing to grapple with, especially in this day and age when everything seems to be contrary to doing such a thing and to being a part of such a thing. But I do think it's important, and I think I think it can be very helpful for a lot of people, just in terms of having somebody alongside you to just help you through just modern life. I think a lot of people are very, very alienated, isolated and lonely, and I think that this is one avenue, sort of just in very crude terms, just speaking very generically now, I think this is one avenue which can really help a lot of people and can assist a lot of people. But of course, marriage nowadays has been so commodified. Just weddings, oh my goodness, the entire industry around getting married. It's about the wedding and not about what happens after, really. It's just a whole thing. So it's all very topsy-turvy, very complicated, in a lot of disarray. But I think as a sentiment, I think it's very very interesting to talk about it, to think about. So maybe next week, I'm not sure. I'm going to put out a poll just of some topics, because I sort of liked it when you had a say in things. So I'll put out a poll in the middle of the week. So I'll give you a few days to sort of say what you might want to speak about in the live. And yes, then we'll take it from there. So yes, yeah. At some point we need to have a very casual live stream where I just sort of, I don't know, play Sims, interact with my parasocial beloved, Joshua Craig. I haven't been playing Sims in a long time, actually. So yeah, it's oh, thank you so much, Rennie. That's so kind of you. Yes, it's yes, yeah. I think we need a break from some of these more serious topics at times, just to sort of I guess touch grass. So yes, it's yeah. But I hope everybody has a good week. I'm going to do something Yes, Rennie, I actually made a video on this. I did. Ironically, you say. My latest video I made, which is actually sort of based around this, because I read the article that featured the comments by Drew Barrymore that she's actually stopped dating and has not been with an individual since 2016, and how relatable that was. So yes, I do have a video on that. So yes, I'm very up to date, ironically, with Drew Barrymore, even though I don't think I've ever watched a Drew Barrymore film or anything. So yes, it's interesting. But yes, so it will be interesting. But I hope everybody has a good week. I'm about to take the plunge this week. I'm actually going to... I can't believe I'm going to do this. This is why I'm saying it at the end of the stream, so that we don't have to talk about it. But I am actually going to take the plunge, and I am going to ask for the number of a waiter whom I have grown very attracted to in the last few months. Very like just offhanded, but I thought, you know what? Why not? We've been making eyes for too long now, and you know, it's a real jump in the deep end, because I mean, I call him Thor. We haven't actually spoken at all. Just looked at each other and stared at each other for a long time in this particular cafe that I go sometimes and work in. And yeah, I call him Thor because he looks like Thor. With the hair and the ponytail. I really sometimes I think, do I actually know what I like in men? Because I seem to go for completely different men all the time whenever I do. So it's yeah, interesting times. But I'm going to ask for his number, because I thought I'd take some of my advice that I gave on Reddit of sort of actually going there and facing potential rejection. And so I thought, you know, I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually, rather than wait, I'm going to go and I'm going to actually do the asking, and I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to make myself completely vulnerable, likely get rejected, but at least I can say that I tried. And I can say that, you know, I'm assuming that it's not going to be as bad, sort of being in a situation where I'm outright just rejected by a stranger. Because usually I sort of have like, you know, experience of like getting to know the person, knowing them, being friends with them, then, you know, doing the whole asking out and then being rejected. And, you know, it's a blow, but it's not quite the same as being rejected by a stranger, a complete stranger who I haven't even like spoken to like verbally. But, you know, it's, yeah, he makes great, broccoli and spinach smoothies. So, yes. And, yes, we will definitely go on a Sims date, Joshua. I've already made you in the Sims. Don't you worry. But yes, everybody, I hope you, oh, you are so sweet. Oh, I do adore you, Joshua. I really do. You do brighten my day every day. Yes. So anyway, yes. Thank you for all the good luck. Nobody, not even Thor, will replace Joshua Craig in my heart. Nobody. I've actually, to be fair, I've actually been designing, I've been doing the terrible. I've been actually thinking of designing some merch, just like as thoughts. As you know, with me, everything takes forever. So merch is not coming soon. Don't get your hopes up for anything of that sort. But I've been designing it. And basically I would say every single piece of merch that I've designed, bar one, features Joshua Craig's face or name. So, you know, Joshua has a very, very important place in my heart that not even Thor can compete with, I assure you. But you know what? To be fair, I'm quite certain that he's going to, well, not certain, I'm sure he's, you know what, I'm not holding up any hopes, but I just thought, you know, I'm going to go for it, because this is getting weird now. There's just a lot of staring, a lot of smiling, a lot of like a little giggling on my part, and it's starting to annoy me. So I'm going to do something about it. So yes, I spelt Joshua Craig correctly on all of the merch. I've spelt it correctly, absolutely correctly. And yes, he's featuring on all of it. Don't you worry, Joshua is there. So yes, so I'll let you know. Yes, Thor is in our Thor, just the Thor from the movies. You know Thor, don't you? Don't you know Thor? I haven't watched any of the films, mind you. I'm basically just going off complete stereotypes, but let's just Thor. Wait, where? I promise you, I'm going. Yeah, here, Thor, like with the hair. You know the hair that he has. Like he's this guy is like completely like I don't know. It's completely like different. Nothing like I don't know. I guess in my like mind, I think this is the thing with dating apps, right? We have, not Chris Hemsworth. I think we need to distinguish between the character and the actor. Okay, I'm talking about the character. I'm talking about like sort of hair and like face. Definitely like the same sort of like face and hair. That's sort of very, very similar, and very like sort of like covered in the same like sort of tattoos as in Moana. Lots of like tattoos on the arms. I do know how to pick them. But yes, so yeah, exactly, yes. That's what I was thinking. He's going to turn out to be gay, isn't he? Yes. But oh well. You know. Yeah, I do like his ponytail. His like a blonde ponytail. Sort of very. It's ironic. It's interesting. I don't really. Oh God, he's a Chad. I don't think he's a Chad. I don't think so. He seems quite. I don't think so. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But yes, I'm going to make my move. I'm going to try. I'll tell you how it goes next week. So I look forward to seeing all of you next week. Thank you so much to everybody for being here. Thank you so much to my moderators for your stellar work as always. Could not do this without you. So yes, I will, as Gloria said, I will be shooting my shots, and I will be reporting back, Usman. I definitely will. And yes, we will see how it goes. I'll bring the tissues. So yes, we'll see how it goes. But just remember, Joshua Craig is the only man in my heart. So yes. I will see you all next week. I hope the internet worked okay for this stream, and thank you so much for being here. And I hope that you enjoyed the stream, which was meant to be based on a Destiny video, but ultimately just went in a completely other direction. So I do apologize, but alas, we will maybe get back to it. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. Have a great week ahead. Look after yourselves. Stay well, stay safe, stay as happy as can be. And I will see you during the week with a video, no doubt, and definitely in the stream next week. So goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh, I've gone with the... There we go. Finished. Okay. Goodbye. Bye, everyone. Goodbye, the Relyk. Bye. Bye. Bye.